Okay, so now this is question 2 of the control test, and this is the functions question. So f of x is a half x plus 2. Now first of all, this is a linear expression. Okay, so this is going to form a linear function, not a parabola, not a hyperbola, not an exponential, right? So they give us the equation of a straight line. Determine the x and y intercepts of f. Righto, 2.1.1. To get the x int, you know that you have to make y equal to 0. So I'm going to do that very quickly. 0 is equal to half x plus 2. What we can now do is we can actually take the half x over 1 over 2. X is equal to 2, and of course that must be negative, and then we can multiply everything by 2 to get rid of this half. So I end up with negative x is equal to 4, and so therefore x is negative 4. Okay, so the x int is at negative 4 and 0. Next up, the y int. Because this is a straight line graph, the y int is quite obvious in the equation, and so the y int is going to be at 0 and at 2. Okay, so 2 coordinates is at minus 4 and 0 and 0 and 2. Okay, question 2.1.2, they ask us to sketch it. Righto, 2, 1, 2. The x int is at negative 4 and 0, which is somewhere around here, right? Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, and the y int is at 2, and I'm going in 1 increment, so we have minus 1, minus 2, 1 and 2, so the y int is over here, and so now this line looks something like that, alright, with the little arrows on the end, with the name called f, and I would even go as far as to write in these points, just in case you get a point for writing them in, right? And there's the answer to 2.1.2. The next one, 2.1.3. What is the domain and range of f, right? This graph has all the x values, so this is x is an element of the real numbers for the domain, and for the range, y is an element of the real numbers. Okay, this graph is not restricted along the y-axis nor along the x-axis, and so all these values apply. Okay, and that's the end of question 2.1. We'll now move on to the next one, question 2.2. Wow, what a beauty in all her majesty. So we have a parabola and we have a straight line graph, and they say the sketch below shows g, the straight line, the parabola, g of x, and h, the straight line. G of x is ax squared plus q, h of x is x plus 2. Right, let's write that in. It's given, x plus 2. A is the y-intercept of g, okay, we see that, y-intercept of g. B and C are the x-intercepts of g. D is a point of intersection between G and H. Lovely. 2.2.1. Determine the equation of G. So lucky for you, they give you the standard form up here. You don't have to remember it, right? So in question 2.2.1, we are using G of x is equal to ax squared plus q. Right. Now you have two options. You either are going to use the equation that looks like this, or you're going to use the equation that looks like this. And it all depends on what you have. Now this equation is suitable when you have the y int, which you don't have. The y int is unknown at a, so we can't use that option. So let's erase that. Okay, the only option for you is the second one, because the second one includes the x-intercepts, which they do give you. Okay, and so this is the equation that we need to use to be able to solve this problem. So we go y is equal to a x minus x1 multiplied by x minus x2. right? Of course, you know that x1 and x2 refers to the roots, so we go y is equal to a x minus minus 2 and x minus 2, right? And now we just solve this, so we end up with y is equal to a x plus 2 and x minus 2. Now at this point, we need to substitute any point that we can so that we can find a. Lucky for us, they give us this point over here, minus 1 and 3, and so I'm going to substitute minus 1 and 3 into this equation. So when y is 3, x is minus 1. Okay, so I'm just going to build it around this. Is equal to a alright, from here it's 3 is equal to a, this will give us 1, this will give us minus 3, so 3 is equal to negative 3a, which makes a equal to negative 1, right? From here, our equation is now y is equal to negative 1, x plus 2, and x minus 2. And now we just need to expand this dots to get x squared minus 4, making this equation negative x squared plus 4, right? Now from what I've seen, people have given answers that were minus 4, and that is quite concerning, because logic should tell you this cannot be minus 4, that has to be positive, right? And according to this equation, the correct equation, this graph is turning at 4, not at minus 4, okay? Okay, so you'll see I've written in the equation of f. I'm also going to write in this 4 here, now that I have the equation. Righto. 2.2.2. What is the domain and range of G? So the domain of our parabola is all the x values. There's no restrictions along the x-axis. So x is an element of the real numbers. Okay. As for the range, this graph will be equal to 4 and everything below 4. Right? So y will be all your real values, but it needs to be values that are less than or equal to 4. Right? It doesn't include 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so on and so forth. Right? So that is the answer to 222. 223. What is the axis of symmetry of G? The axis of symmetry of G is this beautiful line over here, the y-axis, aka the line where x is equal to 0, and that's that. Lastly, determine the coordinates of point D. Point D is the point of intersection. If you forgot that, they even told it to you up here. Spoon feeding. D is the point of intersection between G and H. So we go, where is G of x and H of x going to be equal? Right? This happens twice. It happens over here at B. I'm not guessing, I see it. And it happens again at D. So whatever solutions you come up with, minus 2 needs to be one of them. Okay, now we solve. We substitute G of x, x plus 2 equal to x squared, negative, plus 4. Let's bring everything to the left. Negative, positive x squared, minus 4 plus x plus 2 equal to 0. X squared plus x minus 2 is equal to 0, and then we factorize this trinomial, and so therefore the two options is when x is equal to minus 2 or when x is equal to 1. Exciting, because we know that minus 2 is one of the options, because I just told you that a few seconds ago, right? It's over here, minus 2. That's where it happens the first time. And the second time it happens is at 1. Right? That is what my calculation says. At 1. And it makes sense logically because it's before 2 and after 0. So that could be 1. Okay. So now the coordinates of D, or the coordinate of D is at 1 and we just need to find the y value, right? Now point D is on both graphs, and in previous videos I've said I always go for the straight line because it's easy and you can't go wrong. So if x is 1, what is y? Y is going to be x plus 2 as per this equation, and so therefore y is equal to 1 plus 2, which is equal to 3, and so therefore D is at 0.1 and 0.3. Wham bam, thank you ma'am. Right? Should you have any questions, type them in the comments, and I need you to remember all the fundamental things about your functions. Study them. What does Q do to the graph? What does A do to the graph? What gives away the asymptotes? Okay, all those things are very important because they are fundamental properties of your functions, things that you have to just commit to memory. Okay, so thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a very, very good evening.